Hi viewers, today we will talk about the third point of this Effortless Health program, and that is yoga. I am not discussing yoga as a part of exercise because yoga is not just exercise, it is much different from that and a much bigger program than that. So it's a separate point in my Effortless Health program. Yoga is in fact an eightfold discipline, and it's a complete technology for human transformation in itself. And I will say that some of you who may be thinking about following the full eightfold discipline of yoga, then for them nothing else is required. Yoga in itself is complete. It's the most important science, in my opinion, that the humans have ever known. And if I talk about the 8 limbs of yoga, they are Yam, Niyam, Aasan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharna, Dhyaan, Samaadhi. And we'll discuss each of these points one by one. The first point is Yam. That is like some mental pledges. It's about controlling the mind in regard to your actions towards the society. They are Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya and Aparigraha. Ahimsa means non-violence or non-harming other living creatures. Satya or truthfulness, non-falsehood. I will be on the side of truth always. Asteya means non-stealing. What is not mine, I am not interested in that. Brahmacharya is continence or self-restraint or abstinence, especially regarding sex. In practical terms, it will mean marital fidelity. You should not think about looking towards other women. Touching other women is a big crime in yoga. And the last point is aparigraha or non-possessiveness, non-desirous, non-greedy. I am happy with whatever I have. I know many of you may be thinking that this is too much to ask for, but my advice is that just start thinking about that, because these are very important human virtues, and if you get them, then you would be a different person. And if you don't get them, supposing you lose and you fail to achieve them, then what is the harm? Then you remain the same person. The second limb of yoga is Niyam. Niyam is controlling the self-behavior. It's not about how you deal others. This is about how you behave yourself. And they include Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay and Ishwar Pranidhan. Shauch is about cleanliness and purity. Cleanliness of the body, cleanliness of the mind, speech, cleanliness of everything. Santosh means contentment. Contentment means I am happy with whatever I have. Now, it is also important to note that whatever I have will change tomorrow. Tomorrow I may be having something different, because today what I have I did not have yesterday. So, Santosh doesn't mean that your belongings would not go on changing and increasing. And the third is Tap or persistence, perseverance, especially about austerities. Now, this is very important, because if you always follow what your mind tells you, then you will go into problems. Think about a small child who is not interested in going to school. His mind says, I will not go to school. And then you force the child to go to school so that he becomes a big person in life. And what would have happened if the child would have followed the mental traits? Then he would have, his whole life would have been wasted. The fourth aspect is Swadhyay, that is the study of scriptures for self-analysis. So you read books. Now there is so much of literature available on the internet and everywhere. Then you listen to people, and all this learning is not for preaching others. It is for your own analysis. You analyze yourself and what various things are required, how you can improve yourself. And the last point is Ishwar Pranidhan, or surrender to God. What does it mean? It means that you should understand this great cosmic arrangement in which things are happening just on their own accord. There is no reason to complain. So accept everything and become non-reactive at the emotional level. This is about Ishwar Pranidhan. You don't fight with the situation. You accept the situation because The situation has occurred as part of the grand cosmic arrangement. And in that situation, you have to give your best. Now, you may be thinking that this Niyam and Yam are very theoretical. They are not theoretical. They are theoretical. This is your prejudice. You think they are theoretical. And I advise you that you start thinking about this. Someday, imagine that you would be a changed person, and if you change, then apart from anything else, at least your market value would increase. You would be interested in knowing that even dishonest people want that in their company, honest people should work. Honesty, integrity has got great value. So if you get these values, then your whole life stands to change. The third aspect of yoga is postures or Aasan. This is the most popular part of yoga which the whole world knows about. Now, many people ask me, how do postures work? What is their mode of action? I don't know, because there is no research in the medical field which has very clearly enunciated the mode of action of these postures. But it's very important to know that if you are doing the postures every day, then it keeps the body flexible. And a flexible body is a healthy and youthful body, while a rigid body is a sick and senile body. It's also possible, it's a wild guess though, that there may be receptors in the soft tissues like muscles and ligaments and various types of other soft tissues, fascia. And these receptors may be sending signals to the brain where there is final integration of all metabolic processes. So it's very much possible that someday we'll realize how this works, and there may be the role of receptors in the soft tissue. There's one more very important point to note, that when you adopt certain postures, then you achieve the desired end point. I will describe it with an example, that there is an Aasan known as Paschimottanasana, in which you sit on the floor on a mat with your legs extended forwards, and then you bend down and touch your forehead on your knees. Now, this is possible only if you don't have an abdominal paunch. If you have an abdominal paunch, that this posture would become impossible. So there are two things which are possible. Either you have an abdominal paunch, so this posture will be impossible, or if this posture is possible for you, then you just cannot have an abdominal paunch. And you know very well that abdominal paunch or abdominal obesity is related with lots of metabolic problems which ultimately lead to cardiovascular disease. So this is one way of understanding how yoga postures, they achieve the ultimate desired end result. And lastly, every posture also has got a psychic correlate. Body and mind, they are joined together, and when you adopt certain postures, then your mind is also altered accordingly. So my advice to you would be that you start these postures, at least the simple postures, and then graduate to the higher forms of yoga postures, and you will definitely benefit in terms of physical health. The fourth limb of yoga is pranayam. What is pranayam? It is controlled rhythmic breathing, and is a very, very effective aspect of yoga. Let me tell you something very interesting, that in your body there are two different types of activities which are happening. Some are known as voluntary actions and the others are involuntary actions. Voluntary actions are under your control, like moving your limbs. You can walk if you want, you can talk if you want, but then there are other actions which are involuntary, like your breathing, like your heart rate. You cannot control your heart rate. You cannot increase or decrease your heart rate. Although it is true that when you start running or doing some vigorous activity, then your heart rate automatically increases. It is autonomously regulated. It is regulated by the body's own systems. You can't do anything about that. Respiration is the only activity which is normally involuntary, but you can bring it under your voluntary control to a variable extent. Normally it is regulated by your subconscious mind, but you can bring it to a great extent under your conscious mind. And pranayam links the subconscious mind with the conscious mind and the mind with the body. And it is because of pranayam that the mind-body system starts working as one unit. Normally what happens, you decide that you will quit smoking. That is the decision of the conscious mind. But then after 1 week, you start again, because the subconscious was not giving you support. The subconscious is still interested in smoking. So it's very common to see people who say that stopping smoking is very easy. I have left it 50 times. Because your system was not working as one unit. Pranayam makes it work like one unit. So I will advise that you can start with simple pranayam techniques like Anulom Vilom, and then go to higher forms of pranayam like Kapalbhati. And these first 4 limbs of yoga prepare the system for attaining higher goals. So we will talk about the next 4 limbs of yoga in the next video. Ladies and gentlemen, I am trying something very unique. I am trying that in the long run your system should be transformed in a way that you should not need doctors. You should not fall sick. I mean, basically it is very, very senseless that one should fall sick and then seek medical advice. So I am trying something which is much different from the current medical scenario. And if you are interested in this information and you want to spread it to your friends and relatives also, please like and subscribe the channel, and also press on the bell button so that you get alerts. Thank you.